host, Cam Wells. Earlier in our show, we heard a little bit about the Child Foundation from Ann Geddes and Elizabeth Fiorino, and we got an update on Every Canadian Counts from Hubert Van Niekerk.
In this segment of our show, John Retschilin and Kathleen Ingram will be telling us a little bit about L'Arche.
So if you could introduce yourselves and tell me a little bit about L'Arche, that'd be great.
Absolutely, we can. Sure. My name is Kathleen Ingram. I'm the Executive Director for the L'Arche, Ottawa community, and I've been here just under a year, but really loving life at L'Arche. How about you, John?
Yeah, my name's John Retschilin. I'm the chair of the board for L'Arche, Ottawa, and unlike Kathleen, I've been involved with L'Arche for going on, I guess, 30 years nearly, and within Ottawa for the last 20-some years. Yeah.
So, for those who aren't as familiar with the work of L'Arche, could you take me through some of your programs and services?
Sure. Well, let me just start by saying that L'Arche in Ottawa, which is where we are based, is part of a worldwide federation of 160 L'Arche communities, and in 30-some countries. There are 30 in Canada. One of them is here in Ottawa, of course. We have communities in Toronto and Stratford and London and many other places around the country. And what we do, essentially, is we try to create a community, a living space, where people with intellectual disabilities share their lives with people without intellectual disabilities. And our core idea is that people with intellectual disabilities have a lot to contribute to all of us, to society. They can change our lives in ways that we can't hardly imagine. And so we want to create that opportunity for them. That's what we do in Ottawa. We've been doing that for 54 years. That's what we try to do in the 160 communities around the world.
So that being said, do you find that having folks with intellectual disabilities spending time with those without sort of debunks any myths or stereotypes about intellectual disabilities?
Kathleen, do you want to respond to that? You're new. You're experiencing this for the first time in a way.
Yes, I am, absolutely. And I think it definitely does. It creates an opportunity for people to experience life together, to create mutually transforming relationships. I know that since I started at L'Arche, my experience, my opportunity to share life with people with intellectual disabilities has just been so enriched. It's been such a beautiful blessing to be able to create and have that space and learn more about each other and just how to live life together.
So, what are some of the key benefits for someone with an intellectual disability to actually be a part of a community?
I mean, I think the integration into society is really important. It gives them the opportunity to feel like they belong. One of our mottos that we cling to a little bit is we're creating a community where everyone belongs, and to be able to create that space where people can feel like they're not an other, but they're just part of the family, they're part of the group, they're part of the community, and they belong fully.
Yeah, so some of the experiences we've had in Ottawa, perhaps a little bit unique just because we're in the National Capital Region, but we've had some of our members with intellectual disabilities have appeared in parliamentary commissions, getting to represent themselves rather than have somebody speaking on their behalf. And that happens a lot in large communities where the people with disabilities are given the opportunity and supported and encouraged to speak for themselves about what they need and what they value and how the larger community can welcome them and support them. So, there's myriads and myriads of examples of people whose lives have been changed in that way.
So, this next question is actually for both of you. In your time with L'Arche, is there any success moment or story that stands out for you you'd like to share? And John, you kind of alluded to the idea that there have been some successes with self-advocacy there.
Yeah, one of the ways, I guess it's not just a moment, but a period of time in my life My wife and I have, over the years, have befriended a number of people with intellectual disabilities. One of them specifically, Robert Lamoureux, lived in an institution in the early parts of his life because families were encouraged to put their children in institutions. Robert became a family friend, and he would spend like a weekend with us every month, and really transformed our family in many, many important ways. And he passed away just over a year ago, and we miss him deeply, but it's a great example of how somebody who we would not have known except for being part of L'Arche has really changed us in profoundly and important ways.
And I think even just as recently as last week, we had one of our newest core members join us at a meeting where we were interacting and talking about how to help create a better sense of community and to engage some of our younger population. And one of our core members, who's maybe a little shy, doesn't particularly engage usually quite as vocally, just really leaned in and joined into the conversation, provided some incredible insight, and gave us all lots of really great things to think about. So just even in the small wins and the moments of how people are finding space to tell their story and to use their voice.
So, are there any projects or events on the horizon for L'Arche?
Oh gosh, yes, of course. We consistently have a number of community events. We call them just community life events, and those events are just fun things together, a couple hours on a Monday afternoon or a couple hours in the evening, and we have a schedule of those out where we can gather people with intellectual disabilities, people who live sort of in our homes, our employees, our assistants, our office staff, our board of directors, volunteers, people just in the community, friends of L'Arche who want to gather together and just hang out together and learn and maybe do an activity or listen to some music or do any number of things together. So we have those events sort of regularly throughout our yearly calendar. And then coming up soon, we have our AGM, which is a fun night event where we do all of the legal things that we need to do for our AGM, but we throw in a little bit of fun with it. And we also are engaging shortly in the Tamarack race in Ottawa to walk together, to raise awareness, to help share our message, and to raise funds to help with our events as well. So lots on the go, always.
I'd like to thank you both for taking the time out to do this, but if you can stay on the line for a sec, that'd be great.
Sure.
Sad truth, my friends, is these are hard economic times, times of uncertainty, which makes a project like Hubert's work through ECC maybe seem a little more like a pipe dream, much more difficult to achieve. But the fact of the matter is, setting big goals keeps us on track, the disability world in particular. Having a plan, knowing what's necessary, taking steps in that direction. Once the reality is set in, once the system's in place and working, we can never say that there's nothing more we can do to support individuals with disabilities. Having something that meaningful in place will ultimately strengthen the economy. And honestly, right now, it could use a little strengthening to be true. As a country, we should be coming together and tapping every resource that we have available. That includes a workforce of individuals with disabilities, being able to fully participate, fully engage with the community. Truth of the matter is, we're not going to solve these problems overnight, and it's going to take commitment and sacrifice from every one of us. But together, we can take steps forward, make things better, not just for folks with disabilities, but for all of us. Getting through difficult times takes something we in the disabilities world know all about: commitment. Having patience, recognizing there are going to be setbacks, there are going to be steps forward, but learning from those steps back, becoming stronger for the fact that we know what doesn't work, we can take steps towards what does. In the disabilities world, that's paramount. This understanding that we're not going to change the world overnight is key. But recognizing that we can change things, that we can grow by our failures, celebrate in our successes, and enjoy them as a community. For folks with disabilities, there's nothing more important than the idea of strength and unity. We are stronger as a united presence and a united community. That's true of every group in life. We must not look to ourselves and say, I have all the answers and that's the only way. Just look to one another and say, how can we support each other? This has been Handi-link. I'm your host, Cam Wells, reminding you we're all equal, so get on out there and have yourselves a good one. Something tells me you've earned it, folks. We'll see you next week.